Well, just as I'm sitting down at the microphone now, I just looked at the news this morning before the markets open. China has just announced that it's going to hit the U.S. with an additional 50% tariff on U.S. imports going into China. So now we're in full tariff battle mode between China and the United States. Right now, the tariffs, as I record this, the tariffs on Chinese products coming into the United States are at 104%, and the tariffs on U.S. products going into China are at 84% as of this morning. Now, what all this is going to do, it's going to shut down trade, the U.S. trade with China. It'll just shut it down completely. So look out, world. This is a show about jewelry, why we wear it, why it matters, how it's made, and what it means. I'm Alex D, and I turn cannabis into gold. I make mind-blowing jewelry in gold, silver, and platinum from cannabis plants here in Canada for stage, screen, for people who want to rock crazy jewelry. I'm the Cannabis Goldsmith. Now, I didn't want this to be the trade show or the politics show, but the whole world is going to shit by the looks of it. But anyway, today's show is going to be less about that and more about art. How about that? Everything is going crazy in the world, in the United States and China. In Canada, we have an election we've got a couple more weeks left in it right now. It is just, I'm just so disgusted that there's some foreigner has just been parachuted into Canada to be a prime minister. He doesn't even live in Canada. This guy, Mark Carney, his family doesn't even live in Canada. He is now temporary prime minister, and he's running to be prime minister for 4 years. And now this is just horrible. This guy the whole party, the whole Liberal Party is exactly the same, except for him. Like, Trudeau's gone, but this is the new Trudeau, this guy. They've dropped him in. He has family relationships with the Trudeau family. This is the same guy. So, but anyway, what they've done is he performs so poorly in front of a microphone. Like, Jesus, even I perform better in front of a microphone than this guy. And he's had, as a banker, he's been standing up in front of boring banker crowds for like decades, polishing and honing his speaking skills. Now, if he can't even do that, like, communications is a large part of what a prime minister has to do, and he has to communicate well. This guy does not. This guy, Mark Carney, they're keeping him away. They're keeping him away from independent media, or they're keeping him away from the general public asking questions of him because he can't answer them, and he won't. And he gets his back up if he's asked a question that he doesn't like. He's brittle. He's not the person that should be running this country, in my opinion. But we'll see after the election whether he is or not. I don't know. I'm not voting for him, I'll tell you. But you can vote for whoever you want in Canada. So I'm not trying to persuade you either way. I'm just saying I'm voting for not Carney. How's that sound? I'm not going to vote for him because I think he's fraudulent. Anyway, I was thinking about this. Now, it's spring, even though there's 3 inches of snow on the ground that came down yesterday, and it's staying on the ground. This is spring. This is like almost the middle of April, and there's 3 inches of snow on the ground. I should be out in the garden digging, planting lettuces or something. But no, I'm shoveling the snow off the deck. But this is Canada, and this is what we must deal with. We are the winter people, the Canadians, and we can deal with it. But as all the snow is around and it's staying, it's not melting, I've decided I'm not going to shovel it. Fuck that. I'm not going to shovel the snow. I'm going to let it melt naturally, as it should in the spring. Why should I go out there? It's not enough to snow blow, and it can be shoveled, but I'm not going to do that. I refuse. I'm putting my foot down in its winter boot. I'm drawing a line in the snow. I am not going to shovel this snow. It's going to melt. I'm going to will it to melt. 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 All right. So how are we going to deal with the Americans when they come across the border? I'm right on the border here, looking at the United States, even right now, and I can see them driving along the river road there across the river. You know what? Eventually, when the weather warms up a bit, they're going to be coming across the border, and they're going to be wanting to spend their U.S. dollars in Canada, or maybe they're going to be fleeing from the apocalyptic shit fest that their country has turned into. Anyway, they're coming across to Canada. I was thinking, how are we going to deal with them? Like, you could probably tell over the last few weeks how angry I've been at the United States because of their threatening and their belligerency, their attacks on my country, Canada, on my country's economy, their attacks on the Canadian people. I've been very angry at them, and I've described it quite clearly on this podcast. But now we're in a different boat because perhaps some might be coming across the border here to enjoy our low prices and better quality goods and products. Or maybe just the niceness of the Canadian people. But will we be as nice this year to them? That's what I'm thinking. Like, how am I personally, I can't speak for anybody but myself, but I've been trying to calibrate how I'm going to deal. Should I run across an American? Like, say I'm at a farmer's market or something. And say I'm at one of the craft shows here in the spring. Tons of craft shows here. Down in, say, Prescott, down in the beautiful they have this little area in Prescott, Ontario, where there's little colored houses and painted all different colors. And each one of these little houses, little kind of sheds, is a small retail crafter who is selling their products in it's beautiful, a beautiful little retail area out in this field on the river right next to the lighthouse. It's like a postcard, basically. So say I'm down there and I'm pottering around. Maybe I'm going to talk to Chantel down there. She does amazing stained glass work. And so I'm talking to her, and perhaps an American sidles up and they're an American, and how am I going to deal with them? Like, well, how am I going to feel about them? Am I going to feel sympathy for them? Am I going to feel anger towards them? I've been trying to recalibrate all this just in case I do run across an American this year here in Canada. So I think the best, for me anyway, the best way to relate to them is pity. I pity them. I really do. I have some sympathy for them, but not much, because they're not standing up to defend their country. I would have more sympathy if they did stand up to defend their country, because their country is being taken apart. The president is just destroying their democracy. Now, I'd have more sympathy for them if they would fight back, but they're not. Maybe they're in shock. Maybe they don't see it yet or whatever. The whole world sees it, except for the people of the United States, apparently. Okay, I can't have sympathy with them. So the next closest emotion is pity. So because they can't see what's going on to themselves, because they think they're still fabulous. The thing is, they think they're still fabulous. They think they're still the leaders of the world, but they threw that in the garbage in February when Vice President Hillbilly went to Europe and threatened the European alliance, and confirmed in the release of these signal emails that they just hate Europeans. There's like this new U.S. government just hates everyone else except for themselves, right? So how shall we feel about them? How shall we feel if we run across an American at a craft sale or at the supermarket or whatever in Canada? How shall we deal with that I'm pretty sure they're going to already be sporting a Canadian flag on their sleeve or on their backpack. Already they're going to be pretending to be Canadians. But, if they're over here, I think we must treat them with respect and with dignity because they're people like us, and with pity. So these are the how I've decided to consider the Americans. I've outgrown much of the anger. I still feel a lot of anger towards Americans for not standing up for their own democracy. But look, we have our own problems here in Canada. I'm trying to stand up for my own democracy. We got like a guy who's just been all this shit is just horrible. It's clouding. It's clouding the world. It's like a big dark cloud hanging over the world, And what's the worst thing about it is it seems to make it difficult. All this drama makes it difficult to make art. It makes it extra hard. It seems like these hands are coming out of the ground to hold onto your ankles, to keep you from making your art. You're like you want to fly, but all this political goo is holding you back, right? And it's getting more and thicker and worse. And clearly we're on a path that we're on, like this treadmill going towards either a wood chipper or something. But it's something bad is on the horizon, and everybody knows this, right? Everybody feels this. And who's to blame? So now when you're in the supermarket, an American guy's it's just come across from Canton, and he's there visiting Canada. I'm camping in my trailer down the, these are the people who are coming here to avoid the United States. So I think we must give them our warmest welcome as Canadians. They're coming across here. They're coming over to sanity. They're coming here to visit us. They're looking for some sanity in their camping trailer. They're coming to Canada. They want to set up in some kind of a provincial park or campground along the river. They want to spend the entire summer under the trees barbecuing. God bless them, because that's what we all want to do. We don't want to be fighting. So I think I'm going to look at the Americans as, the ones that come across here to escape, as friends. I'm going to feel pity for their country, but I'm going to look at them as friends. So Americans, come over, come over. But just don't threaten us while you're here. Be respectful while you're here. Be respectful while you're here. To Canada and to Canadians. Don't shit on us or don't come here. That's the bottom line. Anyway, you're up. You just have to watch what's going on here to find out what's going to happen to you. Just watch. So anyway, now, hey, okay, you can hear the anger's coming back into my voice. No, I'm going to try and convert it to sympathy, pity, and a welcome. Anyway, now the art content. All right. I signed up for a writer's workshop and 3 weeks ago, and I'm like a series of 8 workshops. I signed up for it. I was cautious because I had it's like a group, right? I'm sworn to secrecy about it, so I can't talk too much about it, but I can give you a general outline of what it's sort of about. It's a group. It's like a group. And we get prompts, here's 20 minutes. You got 20 minutes to write about this topic, say apples or the flag or whatever. It can be anything. It could be a picture, an object, a word. And you're given like 20 minutes to write fiction about it, or write a story, or write something about that prompt. It's like a boot camp for writing. And I didn't even know if I could do it. I didn't know if I could do a group. As a young man, I was in quite a few therapy groups. I ran therapy groups. I've been in groups before, so I'm comfortable in a group setting. I've been to 12-step meetings. I know how to kind of detach in a way. When you're in a group like that, you have to sort of, you can't crosstalk and you can't comment on what somebody has said, right? Unless they ask for it, and they don't, right? People don't. So you don't want to be commenting directly at what the other person has said. You want to talk about your own stuff in a group. So anyway, that's what. Anyway, the writers group is similar to this. There's like 3 or 4 of us. Depends who's there, who can make it that day, I guess. But 3 people, 4 people. And we sit down and for 2 hours and we do this. We write based on prompts, and then we read out aloud what we've written to the rest. And this is hard to do. This, I gotta tell you, it's difficult to do. I've done public speaking. I speak into this microphone every week. I can talk. Sometimes it's difficult to shut me up. But when it comes to reading something that you've just written to strangers, basically, this is where the learning happens in this group, and I'm just loving it. It's so good for me. It hasn't. I do write a monthly column in the local fish wrapper arts magazine here. It's a newsprint, color newsprint publication available along the river from Gananoque to Cornwall. And I write a monthly column in that. But don't look for improvement in the column. That's what I'm telling people. I'd sign up for a writing workshop, but don't look for improvement in the column. It may or may not improve the writing in the column. But what it is doing is sorting out my brain when it comes to writing. And it's like a boot camp. I guess it's like a Pilates class for writing. So you work at all these little muscles, these little writing muscles that you have, everybody has, I think, but that are atrophied or not used or that just need a bit of toning to buff up. And then you have, like, you're totally ripped and you're cranking out exactly what you want to say on the page, which is, I think, the goal of writing. Is like you've got something in your brain and you want to put it on the page to transfer it from your brain to the page. And so perhaps maybe somebody else can look at it and get that, right? Get what you're thinking about. Get what your imagination has created. Now some of this stuff isn't meant to be shared. And in this group, this is the stuff we write is like just for the group use, right? That's why the top secrecy. It can't be. That's what makes it special. It's just for us to learn from. So anyway, I'm finding this group just fantastic. It's good. It's as I say, I don't know if it's going to help my writing, but I know it's doing something, and that's the main purpose. Like, I've wanted to write a science fiction book for the longest time, like fiction, right? I used to love science fiction books, but now the world around us is science fiction. So it's really hard for me to pick up a book of science fiction now. But the stories in science fiction are interesting to me in that they contain secrets about today's world. So if you're talking about the future, it gives you license to do stuff to describe today's world in a way that you can't, that you might not be brave enough to do. You might not be brave enough to tell the truth about today's world, but in some future time, you can say that authoritarians are running the country, or people are slaves, or robots do. You can do whatever in the future, right? In fiction, but speak to the present. I've always wanted to write that, but never will. I'm writing a monthly column, so it might improve the quality of the monthly column. Although it didn't in the last month, I got to say. I'm tucking into, as an artist, I think this is the time we need to tuck into stuff. We need to learn some new skills. All right, the world is just absolutely crazy. The politicians are hell bent on destroying the world. But as artists, maybe if we can't make the art that we say, if we're known as a painter and we haven't picked up the damn paintbrush for months because we just haven't felt like it because of all the crap going on, now's the time to sign up for a poetry if you're a painter, sign up for a poetry workshop, or songwriting or something that's not even related to what your primary claim to fame is. And you can, I think the skills in these different art areas flow together in the person. So you can grow your art life by learning in different art areas. So if you're a painter and you haven't picked up your paintbrush in a while, you can take singing lessons or pottery or whatever, just to expand and to ground yourself in this crazy time. I think we'll get through this. Everything is changing. The uncertainty, the drama, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But we can deal with it. We can handle it. We can deal with it. We can handle it. We're Canadian. We're Danes. We're French. We're Australian. We're German. We can deal with them. We can deal with it. We can. All right. So what are you going to do? You're going to sign up for a workshop? I hope so. Hope you're going to sign up for a pottery workshop. Or maybe beekeeping. Sign up. There's all these things you'll discover in your community, wherever you are. Look, I'm in the tiniest little town. The tiniest, the population of the nearest town is 4,000 people, and there's a writer's workshop. So in your town, there'll be something like that. Knitting, sewing, needlepoint, If you're a guy, and you're let me tell you a secret. Let me tell you. I'm gonna give away a secret here on this podcast. When I was a young man, and I was trying to quit drinking, I couldn't. I was a mess. Alcohol was killing me, and the only way I could stop was to go to AA meetings, and I couldn't afford treatment. I couldn't do any of that stuff. So I ended up going to AA meetings, and I went to so many meetings. I had to go to these meetings because I knew I would die if I didn't go to them. So I went to all these meetings. I went to sometimes 3 a day, right? Because I had nothing else to do. I had no job. I'd lost everything, right? I'd bottomed out really badly at the end of the 80s. At the end of the 80s was a really bad economic time in North America. It was the end of this was before .com or anything, but there were property things. Interest rates, I remember, were 12% or some ridiculous thing. It was everything was just collapsed. So here I was trying to climb out of it, right? And I started going to AA meetings, and I went to 3 a day, and they helped me. And I went to a rehab, and I got myself clean, and I came out of that. But I went to a lot of meetings. And how I used to choose my meetings, I'll tell you how. This is the secret now that not that I went to AA meetings. I mean, if you want to stop drinking, go to AA meetings. That's my suggestion. Go to treatment, get help, do it, and you'll be so much better off. But anyway, the whole idea of me, going to meetings. I was going to so many meetings. It's how did I choose which meetings to go to? The ones with the hottest girls in them, of course. This is how I chose the meetings to go to. Not necessarily the one closest to me. I would travel distance if there were hotter girls hotter women at the other meeting across town, or in a different fellowship. Fuck that. I'll go to CA, Cocaine Anonymous, or Narcotics, and whichever one has the hottest girls. This is what my mind was like back then, right? So I go to these meetings, and I remember talking to a counselor, or therapist, or sponsor back then, and saying, I owned up to it. I said, look, this is how I choose the meetings I go to. I don't choose them based on the quality of the meeting or that is close to me. I choose to go to this one across town because there's really hot girls in it. And and the guy said, whatever reason, whatever it takes to get you in the door is enough. That's it, right? Whatever it takes to get you in the door is enough. Whether it's the hot girl or whatever, as soon as you're in the room, you're there, right? So that's the secret. That's the secret sauce. That's the goal. So sometimes you can be signing up for something for the wrong reason, but you're going to get benefit out of it anyway. Or if you have to tell yourself, I'm going to sit in a room full of like women knitting at a knitting class, and you're a guy, right? Like, this is challenging for guys, for men, but you can do it, right? And you'll discover stuff about yourself. You'll discover stuff about women, and you'll discover knitting too, So there are all kinds of things like this that most men don't even consider doing, right? Like Pilates, for example. I have done Pilates for my whole life. I haven't done it for a number of years now because I'm living in the country. There's no classes here, but I've done Pilates for like years, and I never for 20 years I've never any men in the class. I was the only guy in the class, and I like that. It just feels great being amongst all these women. Not only it feels good to me to be in a room like that, but I appreciate women, so it works, right? So anyway, that motivated me to go to Pilates classes like over and over again, and whatever it takes to get in the door, right? Once you're in the door, you're on the mat, you're doing these curl things or freaking planks or whatever the hell you're doing. You're doing it, right? You're not looking at anybody when you're just gritting your teeth and trying to stay alive. I went to a spin class. God, sometimes I think I don't do enough, but when I look back, it's like I went to a spin class. Here, I'm a dude that's been riding a bicycle for freaking half a century. I'm riding a bicycle around Toronto in the downtown core. I didn't have a car. I just had a bicycle. I was like, you get these dudes on bikes that just fucking guerrilla bikers, just like over streetcar tracks and potholes. That was me, right? Just hammering it with with these special flat-proof tires that could deal with the horrible roads in Toronto. It's just intense. Riding 4 seasons too. In the winter with a bicycle, right? And in the neighborhood there back in the day, and I went into the class. It was all women on these stationary bikes, and they were all little skinny things too. They were tiny little women. I get on the bike, and I'm thinking, I'm Mr. Cool Man here, who hammers around Toronto on his Specialized, and like, I could basically climb trees with this bike if I wanted to. It was so comfortable. And anyway, the instructor gets up there and starts us off. And in the space of 2 minutes, I'm like, oh my God, how do they do this? I'm looking at all these little skinny women just like hammering it away, with a smile on their face, bouncing up and down on the stationary bike. And I'm like, oh God, what am I doing wrong? Eventually you get it. You get it, and you develop those muscles that you need to make stronger, to make more flexible in order to do the cycling on the stationary bike. So what's the point of all this? The point is, do something different. Get yourself out of your comfort zone, get into a room, take a class, sign up for a craft thing, sign up for a pottery class. You know, you'll find stuff in your local community centers and churches, and just go in and learn something and interact. I mean, it's so grounding, and it's what we need right now in this crazy time of drama. I think we need to hunker down. We need to, if we can't make our art that we're supposed to be making or think we're supposed to be making, make other art or learn other art skills that you can use. And soon the ground will be thawed out. We'll be able to put plants in the ground, get our hands in the earth. That will ground us physically. Take off your shoes when the ground gets warm. If the snow ever melts here, take off your shoes, put your feet on the ground and sit in the sun and think about what class you're going to sign up for. The Cannabis Goldsmith is produced by Tribe Communications, Inc. in the Thousand Islands area of Ontario, Canada. We recorded in our studio in southeastern Ontario along the St. Lawrence River, where we can see America across the river. Subscribe to the Cannabis Goldsmith wherever you get your podcasts. Follow the show and tell your fellow artist friends about it. It's the only artist podcast coming to you right from a studio every Wednesday morning. We'll see you next week on the Cannabis Goldsmith. Oh, if you want to reach me, send me an email, alexd@cannabisgoldsmith.com. Thanks for listening.